Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, Deputy Commissioner of Operations with the Pennsylvania State Police. Up here with me this afternoon is Major William Maitland, the Pennsylvania State Police Area 1 Commander, and Warren County Assistant District Attorney Cody Brown. As you know, we're here because Michael Charles Burham, 34 years of age, was in the Warren County Jail on a $1 million bail for kidnapping, burglary, and related charges. During the late hours of Thursday, July 6th, Burham escaped from the Warren County Jail. Burham was last seen wearing a denim jacket, orange striped jumpsuit, and Crocs, but has almost certainly changed clothing. Burham is a self-taught survivalist with military reserve experience. We believe he is prepared to survive in the woods. As previously reported, our searches have revealed small stockpiles or campsites in wooded areas. I brought a photo of one such hidden cache that we have discovered during the course of this search. We are releasing this as an example for the public of what we are looking for as they may be in the outdoors this upcoming weekend. This particular bag was wrapped in a dark-colored tarp and partially concealed under a log. I mentioned yesterday that we have been receiving amazing support from the public in this investigation. They continue to call in tips, including sightings and suspicious activities. I want to thank the public and local businesses who've dropped off cases of water and various types of food for our officers, along with their well wishes for the safety of our officers. Others have worked closely with us to supply the needs of this large task force that we have assembled. I continue to ask residents of northwestern PA and western New York to regularly review their doorbell and surveillance camera footage for anything they think might be helpful to this search. If there is something they have a concern about, please let us take a look at it. There are currently in excess of 15 federal, state, and local agencies actively participating in this manhunt. In addition to the Pennsylvania State Police, those who make up the majority of our task force include the U.S. Marshals, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Forestry Department, Homeland Security Investigations, New York State Police, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. Investigators remain convinced Burham remains in this general area, but we are aggressively following up on all leads. We continue to refer certain leads to several out-of-state law enforcement partners. None of those leads has been substantiated at this point. We continue to ask that people nationwide familiarize themselves with a picture of Michael Burham, and please contact us if you believe you may have seen him. Burham is to be considered armed and dangerous, and we ask that you do not approach him. Anyone with information is asked to contact our command post at 717-265-9650. I'm also announcing that the U.S. Marshals today increased their reward offering. The combined reward now amounts to up to $22,000 offered by Crime Stoppers and the United States Marshals for information leading to the apprehension of Michael Burham. This remains a very active investigation involving in excess of 200 state, federal, and local law enforcement officers. Pennsylvania State Police and our partners are utilizing all appropriate resources, and we are committed to the safety of the residents in the Warren County area and beyond. Again, anyone with information or concerns is asked to contact our command post tip line at 717-265-9650. I'd be happy to take your questions at this time.
Colonel, how much ground have you covered so far, and what makes you so convinced that he's still in the area 7 days later?
We have covered certainly many hundreds of acres by foot and many miles by aircraft and other technology. I will say what I have said all along. Looking at all of the information combined, looking at the finds that we have uncovered, analyzing the various sightings and the various other pieces of information available to us, leads me to believe that we are absolutely focusing our search in the correct area.
Lieutenant, what would it take to begin searching elsewhere?
We are following up on any tips. So when I say that we refer things out, those tips don't typically involve an extensive search. It might involve following up on a vehicle or gathering a piece of video or something for analysis. But we'll conduct a search wherever the information leads us. So, we're not focused only on one area. We do place the majority of our resources in the area we believe it's most effective and where we believe he is most likely to be.
So what can you tell us about this stash? When did you find it? Where did you find it? How did you link it to Burham? And how many similar stashes have you found?
I'm really not prepared to go into a lot of information about it. What I would tell you is that this has been found in the general area of the city of Warren, outside of the city in a wooded area, but not far. It contained clothing, some food, and some other materials that someone might need if they were trying to exist in the woods.
Weapons?
Not in this particular bag. We did not.
In others, though?
Again, I'm not
Has it been
going to talk about it.
manhandled?
We have been testing many of the things that we have gotten. Again, I don't want to go into a lot more detail about this particular bag. I've really said about what I will say about it. But we are testing many of the items and continue to have that. And we have tests pending on a number of the items.
But you're certain this one was his?
We do believe this one was his.
So wait, is that a confirmed confirmation this was Burham's, or is that a belief?
We are confident that this was his.
Any other thing that has been found in the woods absolutely linked to Burham or anything else like that?
We continue to analyze to determine that.
Senator Colonel, is there any other information you can give us on specifically kind of how you believe that he's in the area? Like, have you triangulated possible locations in certain areas? Does anything to kind of sightings, other things that lead you to believe he's in certain specific areas?
I really can't give you a better answer than what I already have in terms of just looking at the totality of all of the information that we have available to us. As I've said to you before, we've done a number of these. Unfortunately, we've had to do a number of these over the years. And so we've got a lot of expertise, not only from within our agency, but some of those partners that I named. And we continue to collect evidence. If we get to a point of charging someone, I will certainly make that announcement at that time.
Lieutenant, if Burham is watching this press conference right now, what's your message to him?
You need to surrender. Don't do anything foolish that gets anyone else hurt. Don't get yourself hurt. We are going to capture you. We are going to bring you back to the criminal justice system. And this just needs to end.
Lieutenant Colonel, yesterday I believe you indicated there was concern he may have access to a firearm. Do you still have that concern today? And could that have come from a break-in, or I don't know what you're able to say at this point, but why would you have that concern yesterday?
Again, there's a lot of information that we are all looking at in this investigation, and based on all of that information, we and I believe it is very likely that he has a firearm.
Lieutenant Colonel, you obviously searched, campsites and people's camps in the area. What happens if you're unable, because a lot of these aren't used throughout the year, what happens if you're not able to get in touch with the owner or maybe not get permission from the owner?
Well, it certainly depends what we find at one of those sites. So if we had a site that we could not contact the owner and we had a strong reason to believe that that we need to get access, then we would work with the district attorney's office and we would obtain a search warrant. To this point, we have not found that to be necessary. We have been able to contact property owners, or the property owners have contacted us, and we've had permission to search anything that we've wanted to search to this point.
Lieutenant Colonel, last time Burham fled to South Carolina, how far south do you have authorities on the lookout? As far as Florida, would you say?
We have put out information nationwide.
Lieutenant Colonel, yesterday, crew spent quite a while searching a local cemetery just outside of Warren. What led you there, if you're able to say, and did your search yield any results?
Yes, we had a very significant lead. Unfortunately, it did not lead us to Burham. Fortunately, the outcome was not what we originally thought. We had a report of an individual possibly having been kidnapped and a vehicle taken, and we were running that down very quickly and aggressively. So you would have seen a lot of resources in the area. Fortunately, it turned out that that was not the case, and so, you know, when I tell you that we run these leads down and look to see whether we can substantiate or not, in that case, there was a lot of activity. Fortunately for the elderly gentleman involved in that, he was safe and there was not an issue.
Lieutenant Colonel, I know you don't want to comment on media reports, but other media outlets have been running stories with a person who says she's a former girlfriend, claiming that he likes strategy games, likes to try to think he's one step ahead, loves to be out in the woods and trying to elude people, things of that nature. Could that be, and you had said you'd try to do a profile of him, could that be a sense of overconfidence that maybe you could try to take advantage of with him if he thinks he's being cocky out there?
Again, we look at all of that type of information and factor that into our strategy. What I would tell you is I am bringing the resources, and our partners are bringing the resources to bear that will compensate for whatever it is that he thinks he can or cannot do out there. Again, we are going to catch him. It's a matter of time. Regardless of what his mindset is, we will certainly take that into account in our strategy, but it's not going to change the eventual outcome.
Lieutenant Colonel, have you spoken to members of his family? I've heard that his family's in the western New York area. If so, can you tell us anything about what they have told you? Have they cooperated? Are they not cooperating?
As I've indicated previously, we have spoken with them, but that's part of the investigation, and I don't want to characterize their conversations.
How about inmates in the Warren County Jail? Maybe they knew something he told them?
There have been interviews conducted. At any point that we think anyone may have had contact with him, may have information to offer us, there have been many interviews done, and they continue to be done on a daily basis.
Is there a scope of how much this is costing agencies throughout this 1 week now as we mark that tonight?
I don't have a specific cost for you at this time. I mentioned, I believe it was yesterday, in response to a question that in spite of the fact that it is a large task force, we really are trying to be very judicious with taxpayer dollars. So, you know, there are limits on how much overtime, for example, we're spending. Much of this is done on regular time. There's a cost of doing business. The state police has a certain number of troopers, a certain number of specialty units and so forth that are working every day at some assignment. This happens to be their assignment right now. It's why we have them, and it's what they're trained for, and we're using those talents and resources. And I think the same holds true for any of those partner agencies that I mentioned. They're doing the same thing.
Lieutenant Colonel, have you found any of the clothes he was wearing when he escaped jail?
I don't want to comment on the specifics.
Lieutenant Colonel, as the search continues, the Chautauqua County DA continues to build his homicide case against Mr. Burham. Is there any added pressure knowing that the residents of Chautauqua County, and knowing that he wants to move forward with this case, is there any added pressure onto you guys because of that? And what is your message to the residents of Chautauqua County as well?
Well, first of all, in terms of pressure, no, there's no added pressure. We are determined to bring him to justice. We are determined to capture him and return him into the criminal justice system. That doesn't change regardless of what the criminal charges are that are pending. regardless, he's already facing serious felony charges. And my message to the residents of Chautauqua County would be that we are doing everything we can. We are working with the New York State Police and authorities there to share information, and we value and respect their concerns and their safety needs as well. And so we're doing everything we can to end this as quickly as possible. And that's where, to go back to the cost, there's a balance there. We're trying to be judicious, but we're also trying to make sure we apply the resources that we need to bring this to a close as quickly as possible.
Lieutenant Colonel, this stash that you found, can you tell if this was something that may have been left someplace for him by an accomplice, or is it something that he may have stolen from another location? Any indication, or is it confirmation that somebody is out there helping?
I really don't want to comment more than what I've said on that particular item. It's designed, I want to show people what it is we're looking for. That you can see it was wrapped in a tarp. It would have been stashed at least partially under that log. It's meant to not be immediately visible to someone walking by. And so what I'm asking is that, as people are out hiking or biking or whatever in the woods and through the area in the coming days, particularly with the weekend, there'll be an influx of people. We're asking them to just be alert to anything like that, and if they see something, give us a call so we can check it out.
What do you know about his knowledge of Warren, and did that play a role in his hiding out right now?
Well, I mean, he's hidden here before. I think he has developed a comfort level with the area, and that may well have played a role. We'll know more when we capture him.
Lieutenant Colonel, can you ballpark for us how many stashes like this you found? I'm assuming more than one, but are you able to elaborate beyond that?
No, and the reason that I don't want to do that is in the event he is able to access any information, I really don't want him to know what we have or have not located.
But more than one we are able to say?
Yes.
Lieutenant Colonel, in your experience, the longer a manhunt like this goes on, does a suspect like Burham tend to get sloppy as it goes on, tend maybe leave you more clues?
If not sloppy, worn out. And again, as I've said all along, part of our strategy is to push him hard, and we are pushing him hard. Anyone who's pushed hard tends to make mistakes, tends to allow us to exploit those mistakes. It's a very simple strategy, but it works.
Have you ever dealt with someone this skilled at evading police?
Yes.
Lieutenant Colonel, do you have I don't know if you can tell us, but I live outside of the city. Can you give a sense for outside of the city? Does that mean a couple miles, 5 miles, 10 miles?
I'm sorry, I wouldn't want to do that, and the reason I don't want to do it, as I've said, the search area changes, and so on a particular day, we might be 1/2 mile outside the city. On another day or another time during that day, we might be 5 miles outside of the city, or we might be further than that. And so I don't want to give a false sense of security to someone who lives, say, 7 miles outside of the city, that they shouldn't be vigilant or don't have anything to worry about. The search area is constantly changing to some extent, while at the same, again, because there are new areas we have to search, while at the same time there are some areas that we're very much focused on.
Lieutenant Colonel, have there been any other break-ins, things of sightings, anything else that you believe are definitely connected to him? I know previously this week you had said you had ruled out some of these other break-ins, but is there anything now that you believe him to have committed a break-in or had a sighting that's credible?
There are reports that I believe are credible. As I've told you, we are working to substantiate those. Some we've done as much as we can do, and there may not. So, for example, you can't take DNA from everything. There may be a video, for example, that we have analyzed. There's no way to collect DNA in that case, but we have to make an estimate of whether we believe that to be credible or not. And so there are various reports that we find to be likely credible. And again, when we're looking at the geography of that report, the person that made the report, are they in a position to see something, to really know what it is they reported? What were the light conditions? What were, all kinds of things that come into play. And did we have other reports in that area that seem to substantiate that activity? And those are just but a few things that would go into the analysis of it. Again, based on the totality, then we're able to try and make our best assessment for whether we think there's likely likelihood that he's been there.
Is that credible on break-ins or credible on sightings? I'm sorry, just to clarify. Or on both?
On both.
Lieutenant Colonel, how much does the visits at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we know that was in the federal court documents against him, the hotel he's had, the address he's used for that hotel, the bank account he used with that credit card, how much is that part of the investigation? Are you following all of that every single minute?
When I tell you that there is expertise on this team, I stand behind that statement. Those types of techniques are very basic, frankly, for a team of this magnitude. We absolutely leave no stone unturned in looking into this individual. So when I tell you that we are actively and aggressively looking for him, we are using every tool possible to try and find him.
Sir, should people feel comfortable recreating in the woods this weekend, just based on what you know?
I think so. And again, if I could articulate for you that I thought that there was a tremendous risk to anyone out here in the woods, I would do that, and I would advise people not to come here. And we would work with the Forestry Department, we would work with DCNR, Game Commission, and so forth. And we've done that. You know, a number of years ago, to your point about have we dealt with anyone skilled in the woods, the Freen investigation over in the Poconos. We did close down certain portions of the forest because of the threat that we believed existed at that time. So we won't hesitate to do that if we have strong enough information that leads us to believe there is that level of threat. We'll do it immediately, and we'll get the word out immediately. It's why we continue to do these press briefings every day, and I know I don't always have something earth-shattering to share with you, but I want to give you the latest information. We want to be as transparent as possible, and we want to give you an opportunity to ask questions and have people make an informed decision about what they want to do or not do in those areas.
But you're not going to consider shutting down any areas of the forest or nearby wooded areas, or forbidding people from going into those areas?
Not at this time.
Lieutenant Colonel, as you have more boots on the ground here in terms of law enforcement personnel, how does that help you just in terms of being able to investigate more tips, more quickly, if you will?
Well, it does a couple of things for us. One, as we develop areas that we believe are worthy of search for whatever reason, it gives me the people the tactical teams, other troopers that can go out and comb through that area. It gives me the additional resources to very quickly respond to a possible sighting, and if necessary, gives us the resources to set up a perimeter and try to lock in an individual if we believe that sighting is legitimate or substantiated. And like the example I gave you last night, I mean, it gives us the ability to respond very quickly. It's a well-oiled machine. We very quickly took many steps to ensure that if that in fact had been an abduction and truly a carjacking, that hopefully we would have been able to locate that vehicle, that individual, and the suspect very quickly. We'll get.
I don't know whether someone asked this or not. Are you considering adding manpower now? I mean, more manpower to this search?
I think we have the right level of resources here right now, but much like we analyze the information constantly about where we want to search, where we need to refer information to, and so on, we are constantly analyzing whether there are other resources, whether that's more personnel, whether that's some other piece of technology, some other piece of information. Again, we've got a lot of expertise pulled together working on this investigation, and I'm very proud of the capabilities of that team.
How much pressure do you think he is under? I mean, I'm trying to get a sense of whether you think you might have him hemmed in somewhere.
Well, I'll turn this on you and ask you, how much pressure would you feel if you had a couple of hundred armed law enforcement officers with some pretty sophisticated tactical teams searching for you through the woods using all kinds of technology, overhead, on the ground, and so forth, and people that are very experienced at learning everything there is to know about you and using that against you with the intent of taking you into custody with the level of violence being up to you, how that occurs.
Sure, but I mean, I'm clearly not him, and he's got skills that I don't have. So, I mean, do you believe?
I believe he thinks he has.
under-
I believe he thinks he's got a lot of skills. We'll see. thank you again for your help in getting this word out. We want to keep the public informed. As other developments occur, we will certainly try and get those to you right away. Thank you very much.